aboard Vinit Bolinjkar as well. Vinit, hi. Thank you so much for joining us. Does it feel like that the market is out of the slumber for sure and now we are headed for 18,000 or higher levels?
So there are a couple of things which have happened. One is that GQG coming in and investing in Adani, they've beefed up the sentiment for a stock which had seen a massive rout. And uh, traders and investors had lost a lot of money and they had to sell family silver in other sectors and stocks. But with the revival of the trend in Adani, I believe that this trend will be allergic and also add on to the other sectors. And we have seen the PSU back also rallying in line with the Adani stocks. And the sentiment, the fundamentals of the economy could have never been better, and that is now going to be reflected in the stocks. I don't, barring for any international events that are very uh, disruptive, I don't think that this gravy train is going to stop moving up higher next week.
All right. Vineet, what's the outlook when it comes to the entire consumption space? Do you believe that the next quarter is likely to be a bit more promising in light of input prices cooling off, or we are likely to see inflationary concerns persist?
So the opposite kind of forces which are at play. One is the expectation that because of El Nino, the rainwater, rainfall might be, precipitation might be lower than expected. But India has done enough conserve water, which can see us through about two bad monsoons. So I don't see that impacting significantly. And this year's Rabi crop is expected to be a bumper crop. So I believe that this will fuel consumption, and hence we believe that despite lower rainfalls, aggregate spends would be much higher than we have seen in the recent past.
Okay, so that's the take coming in as far as how the macro setup is looking like, especially with respect to what to expect from the crop, given that IMD has been raising the red flag that there's going to be El Nino this year, it's going to be hotter than expected. Though, of course, whether it's going to be a below normal monsoon or not is something we'll have to track because we've been fairly lucky for 4 years on a trot with good monsoons coming in. But whether that rural recovery will continue or not will be interesting to track as well. Vaneet, your take as far as the entire cement pack is concerned, because of course Ambuja and ACC were under the radar because of what was happening to the entire Adani group. But other than that, Ultratech, Shree, India Cements, any other name, what would be your take on how one should approach the cement pack?
I think I will go with Birla Corp and also with Shree Cement and Ultratech. For the time being, we would not be looking at the Adani cement stocks, primarily because we believe that they are richly valued at this current levels.
Okay. Vineet, what would be your recommendation to the retail investors who have missed, let's say, the PSU banking rally last year? At the current level, would it still make a good buy? Because you are, of course, today seeing a knee jerk reaction. But from, let's say, a 1 2 year point of view, would you be a buyer for PSU banks?
Absolutely. Well, look at the differential between the private banks and the PSU banking valuations. There is definitely a case for buying PSU stocks, given the fact that their their asset quality has been fully provided for. Growth is going to be very high, and the NIMs are also catching up with their richer cousins, which are the private sector banks.
Okay. Now, interesting to just map out some of the movers for the week gone by. Yes, Anisha was surprised by Macrotech. That has certainly gained about 44% or so for the week gone by. But then, as we flagged off, there's been the Adani group of stocks that has seen a stupendous comeback. A lot of it is in today's trading session that has attributed to the 1 week gain. Pull up the 1 week chart. Adani Enterprises, for instance, a 40% plus gain. You've got something like an Adani Ports, which has gained about 23%. Adani Green, another stock from that cluster of stocks. Adani Wilmar, and then there's been Adani Power that have been in the limelight for the week gone by. So those have been some of the interesting movers in this week. But on the flip side, you've also got some stocks that have had a pretty rough week. Cipla, for instance, has lost out about 9% or so. There's been emphasis from midcap IT that has shaved off about 5.5%. Nothing compared to the gains that we saw, 40%, but nonetheless, these have been weak. Tata Elxsi as well, Infi, something like a CG as well as KPR Mills and Alcom Labs, they've lost out about 4.5% or so for the week gone by. Interesting, Vinit, to get in your take then on mid-cap IT.
The entire pack, I remain very guardedly cautious, not recommending at all at these levels to look at. The reason being that internationally we are going to see a severe disruption in the currency setups. We believe that the US debt is clearly unsustainable, and the world is, in the throes of a de-dollarization trend, and that can severely dent the currency movement. So also we have seen Wipro cut salaries very, very aggressively for engineering students who were supposed to come on board. So given these cues and the slowdown in spending in the US, we believe that IT can be a sort of a disruptive trade. So we are not long this, and we are very, very cautious about it.
Take as well as far as defense and industrials is concerned, because we continue hearing about these order wins coming in for the defense names, some tie-ups, some MOUs that they keep on signing, but if you look at the quarterly earnings, they just don't show up in the numbers.
So, these tie-ups and these new orders that come, these are long drawn orders which are executed over multiple years. So, it augurs well for revenue visibility, and that is what is shoring up the valuations. So eventually the numbers will come. They might come with a bit of a lag, but the numbers will definitely come. As far as the industrial pack is concerned, I second Nuresh on the fact that L&T has consolidated really, really for a very long time and is due for a vertical move emanating from any time now.
It's Friday. Let me put all of you on a spot and do some one-word answer kind of questions. Nuresh, Tata Motors or M&M?
I would still go with Eminem.
Okay. What about you, Kunal, in terms of ICICI Bank versus SBI?
ICICI Bank.
Okay, interesting. Vinith, your top stock bet at the moment?
Tata Motors.
Wow, Tata Motors. Because we were looking at those charts and discussing it in the morning, that slowly and steadily Tata Motors too has given a gain of around 42% if you look at the last 18 months. Whereas at the index level, we haven't seen much. But, Vinith, what would you say in terms of the two-wheeler stocks? Is there a reason that you will start looking at, let's say, a Hero or Bajaj? The valuations are fairly reasonable at the moment, given the fact that there are a lot of headwinds, whether with respect to the rural demand or the export challenge for Bajaj Auto. A value play, a risk reward play?
So a value play would be Hero Honda, and a risk reward play would be Eicher Motors.
Talking about how GQG buying into Adani has changed the tide for at least the near term. But if I had to ask you to make your top bets within the entire Adani group, whether ports, whether cements, etc., which are the top 2-3 stocks that you would recommend to your clients?
So my pecking order would be Adani Ports, Adani Enterprises, and Adani Transmission.
So that's a sweet and simple answer coming in for how the Adani group of stocks are stacked and where the preference lies. In fact, today